welcome once again to the Maximisedwell devotion. It's such a blessing to be here again to share with you something small that God is speaking in my heart. I'm privileged now to be at the border of Germany and France. Behind me you can see the Rhine River. The Rhine River is the river that divides Germany and France. One side belongs to France and the other side belongs to Germany. Rhine River flows all through into Germany, passing Düsseldorf, and it goes on. Yeah, I've been sharing something that has been strong in my heart for the past 1 month that I've just been thinking about, and that is to withdrawing from your comfort zone and coming out of your familiarity and seeking a place where you focus your attention to God and you let God speak to you. You let just God get your attention, that He can speak into your life. And I've been sharing from the book of Exodus, chapter 33. This is the time the Israelites, they were out of Egypt on their way to the promised land. And we're going to see what Moses did, which encouraged me. And I believe that we need to do this more and more. Because when we read also in the New Testament, we see that Jesus withdrew himself from the crowds to seek God. But I just want us to read Exodus chapter 33, verse 7, and then we jump to 11. Verse 7, it says, Moses took his tent and pitched it outside the camp, far away from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of meeting. He called it the tabernacle of meeting, a place where he went to meet with God. That's why he called it a tabernacle of meeting. It was not a tabernacle or a tent of meeting where people came to meet with one another. It was not a club place where people came to meet with one another. But it was a tent of meeting where Moses could withdraw. And when you read further, you realize that they say whoever wanted to seek God, they could withdraw into this place and let God speak to them. So verse 7, it says, Moses took his tent and pitched it outside the camp, far from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of meeting. And it came to pass that everyone who sought the Lord went out to the tabernacle of meeting, which was outside the camp. I want us to jump to verse 11. Verse 11, it says, So the Lord spoke to Moses face to face, as a man speaks to his friend, and he will return to the camp. But his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, did not depart from the tabernacle. You see, when he withdrew himself from his familiarity zone to seek God, God spoke. I know some of you, we might have heard of this verse that God speaks and He says, when you seek me with your whole heart, then I'll be found of you. So God promises us when we seek Him with our own heart, we're going to find Him. And that means anytime you set time aside to seek God, anytime you give your attention to God, that God may speak to you, God is going to speak to you. You can start by seeking God, setting aside 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, according to the way you have time. The important thing is seeking God, seeking God's face. And just talk to God and tell God you're giving Him time for Him to speak to you. Give Him the opportunity for Him to communicate with you, for Him to speak to you. When you seek God with all of your heart, you will find Him. God is telling us, He's giving us an opportunity that we be seekers, that we may seek Him, that we may seek His face. And I encourage you to seek God's face. So you see, Moses took a tent, put it far away from the living area, and allowed God to speak to him. You know, I've read many stories where there are many people, they've made it a habit to withdraw from time to time to hear from God, to let God speak to them. And I read a story where there's a couple, they've done that in their house. They have a corner. When they got into that corner, then the family members know that they're in that corner or in that room to seek God. So it means even at home, you can set time aside to seek God, to seek His face. So until next time, this is the Maximisedwell devotion time. God bless you. Behind me is a rainfall, which I've been told that is the biggest waterfalls in Europe.